Vietnam runs more than 700 miles from Hanoi in the north to Ho Chi Minh City in the south, and this route travels the entire length of it, 6 stops end to end. That shape is the single most important thing to understand before planning a trip here. Vietnam is long and narrow rather than compact. The country holds around 101 million people, and 2 of its cities rank among the largest in Southeast Asia. Ho Chi Minh City anchors the southern end with roughly 9.4 million residents in the city proper. Hanoi anchors the north with about 8.7 million, and it has served as the capital for most of the past 1,000 years. Between those 2 poles, the scale drops sharply. Da Nang holds about 1.2 million people, and Hue around 650,000. Hoi An has roughly 120,000. It is a small town, and that is precisely the reason people go. Ninh Binh is the outlier on this list. It is less a city than a landscape of limestone towers, flooded valleys, and rice fields. The full route runs Hanoi first, then Ninh Binh, then Hue, then Da Nang, then Hoi An, and finishes in Ho Chi Minh City. Almost the entire route is coastal lowland. Every stop here sits between 40 and 110 feet above sea level. Heat and humidity are therefore constants rather than variables. There is no altitude on this route to climb away from them. What Vietnam does not have is one climate. It has 3, and they disagree with each other in ways that catch people off guard. The north gets a real cool season. January in Hanoi averages a high of 22 Celsius, 72 Fahrenheit, and lows near 14 Celsius, 57 Fahrenheit. The center does the reverse, staying dry through spring and then flooding hard in the last months of the year. The south barely shifts at all. Ho Chi Minh City sits between 31 and 35 Celsius, 88 and 95 Fahrenheit every single month. That 3-way disagreement is the hardest part of timing a Vietnam trip, and Section 7 works through it properly. This route suits travelers who want variety across a country, rather than depth in one city. You get a 1,000-year-old capital, an imperial citadel, a preserved trading port, a karst river landscape, and a fast modern metropolis. The real cost is transit. Covering that distance means several travel days that are not sightseeing days, and no itinerary hides that. 2 weeks is the comfortable length for all 6 stops. 10 days works only if you drop 1 or 2 of them. 3 weeks lets you slow down in Hoi An and Ninh Binh, which are the 2 places people most often wish they had given longer. One more thing worth setting up front. Da Nang and Hoi An sit just 15 miles apart, so they function as a single base with 2 very different characters. Almost everyone starts this route at Noi Bai, Hanoi's international airport, sitting north of the city across the Red River. The cheapest way in is the 86 Express bus, which reaches the Old Quarter in about 45 minutes for $1 to $2. A taxi covers the same trip in roughly 35 minutes for $12 to $18. Use the official taxi counter inside the terminal rather than accepting an offer from anyone who approaches you in arrivals. Grab, the regional ride-hailing app, works at every stop on this route and removes the haggling entirely. Download it before you land. It is the single most useful piece of preparation for a Vietnam trip. Hanoi now runs 2 metro lines, and a single ride costs 3,000 dong, about 11 cents. The metro is useful along a couple of corridors, but it does not yet reach most of what visitors come for. In practice, you walk the Old Quarter and take a grab to anything beyond it. Ninh Binh sits about 55 miles south of Hanoi, close enough to attempt as a day trip and much better as an overnight. Limousine minibuses run door-to-door from central Hanoi for roughly $4 to $8. Trains leave from Hanoi Station and take a little over 2 hours, which is the more comfortable of the 2. Once you arrive, nothing is walkable. The site sits scattered across farmland and the distances between them are real. Most visitors rent a bicycle or a motorbike, and guest houses arrange both. There is no useful public transport here at all. The Ninh Binh to Hue leg is the longest overland stretch on this route, more than 280 miles. This is where the overnight train earns its place. You sleep through the distance instead of surrendering a day to it. The alternative is backtracking to Hanoi to fly, which is quicker in the air and slower door-to-door. Hue's airport, Phu Bai sits about 9 miles from downtown, and the official counter is again the right call. The city splits across the Perfume River, and the two banks sit a comfortable walk or a very short ride apart. Hue to Da Nang is only 50 miles, and it is the most scenic leg of the entire route. The train hugs the coastline and climbs the Haie Van Pass, with open sea on one side for much of the way. Take the train here even when a car would be marginally faster. This leg is one of the trip's actual attractions. Da Nang has the most convenient airport in the country. It sits 1.5 miles from downtown. That makes arrivals fast, and a curbside taxi is fine here, which is not the advice anywhere else on this route. A single bus ride costs 8,000 dong, about 30 cents, though most visitors default to Grab regardless. Hoi An lies 15 miles south of Da Nang, close enough that many people base in one and visit the other. A Grab car between them runs roughly $6 to $12 and takes about 35 minutes. Hoi An is the most walkable place on this route. The ancient town closes to cars for much of the day. Bicycles cover everything beyond the old town, including the flat ride out to An Bang Beach through the rice fields. The final leg is the long one, close to 370 miles from Hoi An down to Ho Chi Minh City. Fly it. Da Nang is the departure airport, and the flight takes a small fraction of the overland time. Tan Son Niat sits 5 miles from downtown, unusually close in for a city of 9.4 million. Ho Chi Minh City has one metro line so far, and a single ride costs 6,000 dong, about 23 cents. District 1 is walkable early in the morning and hard work in the afternoon heat. Grab fills that gap cheaply. One rule holds across all 6 stops. There is no tourist travel pass anywhere on this route. You pay per ride, in cash or through the app, and the amounts stay small enough that they barely register. Accommodation is the place where this route delivers its clearest value, and the tiers behave consistently from north to south. A hostel dorm bed runs between about $5 and $6 in every city on this list, with very little variation. In Hanoi, the Old Quarter is the default choice, a dense grid of trading streets where the lanes are still loosely named for the crafts once sold on them. Everything there is walkable, which matters in a city where crossing a road is its own small skill. The trade-off is noise. Ta Hien is the center of the street beer scene, and sound carries in narrow lanes. The French Quarter sits immediately south and east, built on wide boulevards rather than alleys, and it is noticeably calmer. Tay Ho, out at West Lake, trades proximity for space and a strong cafe scene, but it puts you a real ride from the sights. Hanoi mid-range rooms land around $40 a night, with the historic luxury properties closer to $120. In Ninh Binh, Tom Kok is the practical base, small enough to cross on foot and ringed by homestays and bicycle rental. Chang'an is quieter and more scenic, but far more spread out, with fewer places to sleep. Budget rooms here run near $30, and the eco-lodges and resorts among the karst reach about $130. Ninh Binh is also where homestays outperform hotels, because the setting is the entire point. In Hue, the South Bank holds nearly all the hotels and restaurants and the pedestrianized walking street. The Imperial City sits across the river and is somewhere you spend a day rather than somewhere you sleep. Hue is the cheapest stop on this route for a proper room. Budget properties sit near $20 a night. Even the luxury tier here runs close to $100, noticeably below the coastal cities south of it. In Da Nang, the decision is beach or river. Mi Khe puts you on a long sand strip backed by a wide hotel road. Hai Chau, on the west bank of the Han River, is the commercial center and sits closer to the train station and the markets. And Thuong, 1 block back from the beach, is the cheaper middle ground, thick with cafes and small guest houses. Da Nang mid-range rooms run around $55, and beachfront luxury reaches about $140. In Hoi An, the ancient town is the obvious base and the one most people should take. It is closed to traffic for much of the day and small enough to cross end-to-end in under 20 minutes on foot. An Bang Beach is the alternative base, a row of low beach clubs and guest houses, rather than a wall of resorts. Kua Dai is closer to town, but parts of its sand have eroded badly and now sit behind sea defenses. Hoi An has the most complete price ladder on this route, running from under $30 to about $127. In Ho Chi Minh City, District 1 puts you among the landmarks, the market, and the colonial-era civic buildings. Pham Ngu Lao, at its western edge, is the backpacker quarter, cheaper and considerably louder late at night. District 3 is the quieter alternative, a grid of tree-lined streets and villas with a strong local cafe scene. Tao Yen, across the river, is calm and international, but leaves you a long way from everything you came to see. Budget rooms in the city run near $36, with the upscale tier around $90 and luxury near $140. If you want one rule for the whole route, book central in the small towns and slightly out in the big cities. This section walks the 2 weeks in order, and the days are numbered end to end so you always know where you are. 14 days splits like this: 3 in Hanoi, 2 in Ninh Binh, 2 in Hue, 1 in Da Nang, 4 in Hoi An, 2 in Saigon. Days 1 through 3 are Hanoi. Hanoi's appeal is density and age. This has been a capital, on and off, for most of the last 1,000 years. The imperial citadel of Thang Long is the deepest layer of that, an excavated palace complex that sat under a military compound for decades. Hua La Prison is the hardest stop in the city and the one most visitors remember longest. It was built by the French, later held American prisoners of war, and the exhibition covers both periods unevenly. Chan Quoc Pagoda draws the largest crowds of any single site in the city on a small causeway island in Westlake. It is the oldest pagoda in Hanoi and takes about 20 minutes, so pair it with something else on the same trip out. The Ho Chi Minh Mausoleum sits in the ceremonial heart of Ba Dinh, and the line moves faster than it looks. Dress conservatively, expect airport-style security, and be aware it closes for a period most years for maintenance. The Vietnam Museum of Ethnology is the most underrated stop in Hanoi, and the best single explanation of the country's minority cultures. Its outdoor section holds full-scale traditional houses moved from around the country, which lands better than any display case. Thang Long Water Puppet Theater is the one piece of scheduled entertainment worth building an evening around. The art form began in flooded rice paddies, and the shows run under an hour, which is about right. Traveling with children, Hanoi Zoo and the aquarium at Time City both draw heavy local family traffic. Day 1 starts at the Imperial Citadel when it opens at 8, which gives you 2 hours before the heat builds. From there, it is a 15-minute walk to the Mausoleum complex for the late morning, then lunch at a Boon Cha counter in the Old Quarter. Spend the afternoon inside at Hua La Prison, where the air conditioning matters, and book the evening water puppet show. Day 2 works better out of the center, opening at the Museum of Ethnology for 2 hours among the traditional houses. Head back for a late lunch at Westlake, then finish the afternoon at Chan Quoc Pagoda before the light goes. Day 3 stays loose on purpose, because the Old Quarter rewards wandering more than it rewards a list. Give the morning to the streets themselves, the afternoon to whichever of the first 2 days ran short, and the evening to a rooftop. On day 4, you leave the capital behind. The train south to Ninh Binh takes a little over 2 hours. Days 4 and 5 are Ninh Binh, and the change is abrupt. You go from 8 million people to rice fields and limestone in one morning. Ninh Binh is the landscape stop, and 2 days is what it takes to do properly, rather than as a rushed day trip. Cha Hang An is the headline, a UNESCO-listed complex where road sampans thread through flooded caves under limestone peaks. The boat route runs 2 to 3 hours, depending on which circuit you pick, and it is entirely on the water. Tom Kok is the older and smaller version of the same idea, on the Ingo Dong River, and it gets busier. If you only do one, do Chang An for the caves and the scale, and Tom Kok if you prefer the rice fields. Baiding Pagoda is the largest religious complex in the country and draws nearly 25,000 reviews. It is entirely modern, built at enormous scale, and it divides visitors sharply between impressive and soulless. Hua Lu is the 10th century capital that preceded Hanoi, now reduced to 2 temples against a limestone backdrop. It takes under an hour and sits on the road between the other sites, so it slots in easily. Hang Mua is the climb, roughly 500 steps up to a dragon statue and the view that fills most Ninh Binh photographs. Do it at first light or late afternoon. There is no shade on the staircase and the stone holds heat. Day 4 is the arrival day, so keep it short. Drop your bags, take Hua Lu in the afternoon, and climb Hang Mua for sunset. Day 5 is the boat day. Start at Chang An at opening, when the water is still and the sampans are quiet. Break for a goat lunch near Tom Kok around midday, then wait out the worst of the heat before Bai Ding or Bich Dong. Day 5 ends on the overnight train. You board in the evening, sleep through the longest leg of the trip, and wake up in Hue. Days 6 and 7 are Hue, and you arrive already in the middle of it, since the station sits a short ride from the river. Hue is the imperial stop, and its sites are more concentrated than any other city on this route. The citadel and the imperial city inside it are the reason to come, a walled and moated court complex on the river's north bank. Much was destroyed in 1968, and restoration is ongoing, so expect a mix of intact halls, ruins, and active reconstruction. Give it 3 hours minimum. It is far larger than it looks from the Meridian Gate at the entrance. Tian Mu Pagoda sits upriver on a bluff, a 7-story tower that has become the visual shorthand for the city. The royal tombs are the second half of Hue, and they are scattered several miles out along the river. The Kai Ding Mausoleum is the most striking, a blackened concrete hybrid of European and Vietnamese styles built into a hillside. The Tu Duc Mausoleum is the opposite, a landscaped retreat of pavilions and lakes that the emperor used while alive. Pick 2 tombs rather than 4. They are individually excellent and collectively exhausting in the heat. Day 6 opens at the Imperial City the moment it does, giving the morning to the walled enclosure before the tour groups arrive. Cross back for lunch on the south bank, then spend the afternoon on the Kai Ding and Tu Duc tombs, which pair easily by car. Day 7 belongs to the river. Take a boat up to Tian Mu Pagoda in the morning and keep the rest of the day unhurried. Then board the early afternoon train to Da Nang because this is the leg you came for and it is best in daylight. Day 8 is Da Nang, and it is the shortest stop on the route by design. Da Nang is the modern city on this route, and its attractions split between the coast and the hills behind it. Ba Na Hills is the single most visited attraction in central Vietnam, with over 100,000 reviews. It is a French-themed hill resort reached by one of the world's longest cable cars, and it holds the Golden Bridge. Be clear about what it is. It is a built theme park at altitude, not a heritage site, and it consumes a full day. The Marble Mountains are the better half day. 5 limestone hills south of the city, honeycombed with cave shrines. Bring shoes with grip. The interior steps are worn smooth and often wet. The Dragon Bridge crosses the Han River and breathes fire on weekend evenings, which is worth timing once. Han Market and Con Market are the working markets, and Con is the one locals actually shop at. Mi Khe Beach runs for miles and is the most straightforward pleasure in the city, best early before the sun turns hard. Day 8 takes the Marble Mountains in the morning before the stone heats, then a seafood lunch on the beach road. Swim through the middle of the day and time the evening for the Dragon Bridge, which only performs at weekends. If you would rather spend a whole day at Ba Na Hills, this is the day to do it, and you give up the beach to get it. On day 9, you move south to Hoi An, 40 minutes by car, and this is where the trip finally slows down. Days 9 through 12 are Hoi An, the longest stay on the route, and those 4 nights are deliberate rather than generous. Hoi An is the highlight for most people who do this route, and it is almost entirely about the town itself. The ancient town is a preserved trading port, a rare survival of a Southeast Asian merchant quarter from its shipping era. The Japanese-covered bridge is its emblem, a small roofed bridge with a temple built into one side. Entry to the old town works on a ticket that admits you to a set number of heritage houses and halls. The assembly halls are the most interesting of those, built by Chinese merchant communities from specific home provinces. Go through the Old Town twice, once early when it is nearly empty, and once after dark when the lanterns are lit. Those are two completely different places, and most visitors only see the crowded middle of the day. My Sern is the half-day trip out, a ruined Cham temple complex in a valley about 25 miles away. It is older than anything else on this route by centuries, and it was bombed heavily during the war. Tan Ha Pottery Village and the Cha Kway Herb Gardens are the low-key options, both reachable by bicycle. An Bang is where you actually swim, and it stays usable well into the shoulder season. Day 9 is arrival, so give it to the ancient town at dusk, when the lanterns come on and the day crowds have gone. Day 10 leaves early for My Sern, ahead of both the heat and the tour buses, returning for a Gao Lao lunch in town. Rest through the worst of the afternoon, then walk the Old Town again, this time in daylight, for the assembly halls. Day 11 belongs to the bicycle, riding out through Cha Kway to An Bang for the morning and a long beach lunch. Day 12 is the one with nothing scheduled, which in Hoi An means a tailor fitting, a cooking class, or simply the river. Day 13 is a travel day. You drive back to Da Nang and fly south, and the country changes character on the way. Days 13 and 14 are Ho Chi Minh City, and after 4 days in Hoi An, the contrast is deliberate and jarring. Ho Chi Minh City is the loudest and fastest stop, and its core sites are unusually close together. The War Remnants Museum is the most affecting museum in the country, and the one most visitors call essential. It is explicitly one-sided and does not pretend otherwise, and the photojournalism floor is hard to walk through. The Independence Palace is preserved as it stood in 1975, down to the rotary phones and the war room in the basement. Notre Dame Cathedral and the Central Post Office face each other a short walk away, both French colonial and both busy. Ben Thanh Market is the famous one, though it now trades more on visitors than on groceries. Bui Vian Walking Street is the nightlife strip, closed to traffic in the evening and extremely loud. The Cu Chi tunnels are the standard half-day trip out, a preserved section of the wartime tunnel network. Landmark 81 gives the high view, and Saigon Zoo and Botanical Gardens is the reliable stop with children in tow. Day 13 is mostly transit, so land, drop your bags, and give the evening to Ben Thanh and the street stalls around it. Swing by Bui Vian afterwards if the noise appeals, and skip it entirely if it does not. Day 14 is your last, and it belongs to the war history. Take the War Remnants Museum first thing while you have the patience for it. Walk to the Independence Palace and the cathedral before lunch, then wait out the afternoon heat indoors. If you can add a 15th day, spend it at the Cu Chi tunnels, which need half a day on their own and do not compress well. Vietnamese food is not one cuisine, and this route is the clearest possible demonstration of that. Each stop has dishes that barely appear elsewhere in the country, and several are effectively unavailable outside their home city. The broad pattern runs north to south. The north is subtler and more herb-forward. The center is spicier and more formal. The south is sweeter. If you eat the local specialty at every stop, you will have eaten 6 distinct cuisines by the end. This section follows the same route in the same order, and each city gets 1 day of eating laid out from breakfast to dinner. Hanoi's signature is bún cha, grilled pork patties in a bowl of sweetened fish sauce broth with cold rice noodles. It is a lunch dish, not a dinner dish, and the good places sell out and close in the early afternoon. Cha Ca is the other Hanoi institution, turmeric-marinated fish finished at your table with dill and spring onion. It is served almost as a ritual, and the dish is closely associated with a single street in the Old Quarter. Ban Cuon is the breakfast, steamed rice sheets rolled around minced pork and wood ear mushroom. Egg coffee is the drink Hanoi invented, whipped yolk and condensed milk over strong coffee, closer to dessert than caffeine. Banh Mi 25 is the reliable sandwich stop in the Old Quarter, drawing over 17,000 reviews. For a sit-down meal, Met is the highest volume Vietnamese kitchen in the city and keeps a full vegetarian menu. A day of eating in Hanoi starts with Ban Cuon near your hotel, then Bún Cha at a lunch counter before 1 when they still have it. Take egg coffee in the middle of the afternoon and finish with chaka for dinner and a glass of bia hoi on ta hayen. Bia hoi is fresh draft beer poured into plastic stool bars, and it costs between 30 and 50 cents a glass. Ninh Bing's food is the most distinctive surprise on the route, and it is almost entirely built on two things. Goat is the first. The limestone hills support mountain goat, served grilled, steamed, or as a cold sliced salad. Kam che is the second, a crisp, scorched rice crust served with a rich meat sauce poured over it. Both appear on nearly every menu in the area, and the goat restaurants around Tom Kok are where locals take visitors. Chef Hyen is the best-reviewed kitchen in the area, and De Chin Thu is the goat specialist. A day of eating in Ninh Binh starts simply, because breakfast here is a bowl of pho or a banh mi from a roadside stall. Save the appetite for a long goat lunch after the boats, then take Kam che with dinner and a glass of Kim Son rice wine. Hue is the most refined food city in Vietnam because it cooked for an imperial court for a century and a half. The style is small dishes, many of them, presented carefully, and it is noticeably spicier than the rest of the country. Bun Bo Hue is the famous one, a lemongrass and chili beef noodle soup that is heavier and hotter than pho. It is eaten for breakfast here, which surprises most visitors on their first morning. The Ban family is the real Hue specialty, small steamed rice cakes served in sets. Ban bao arrive as a tray of tiny saucers topped with dried shrimp. Ban lak are translucent tapioca parcels around pork and prawn. Ban koai is the crisp folded pancake, smaller and denser than the southern version. Kum hen is the local breakfast that visitors rarely find, baby clams over cold rice with herbs, broth, and crackling. Madam Thu is the standard introduction, serving the small dish sets in one sitting so you can try the range. Kum hen hoa dong is where to eat the clam rice properly, and che hem handles the sweet end. A day of eating in Hue starts with Bun Bo Hue at a street counter, the way the city actually eats breakfast. Take a band set for lunch so you get the full range of small dishes in one sitting, and kum hen if you find it. Finish with a che dessert in the evening, which is where Hue's sweet tooth finally shows itself. Da Nahung eats seafood, and it does so at a scale the other stops cannot match. Mok Kwan is the highest volume seafood restaurant in the city, with nearly 27,000 reviews. Bun Cha Ka is the local noodle soup, built on fried fish cake rather than pork or beef. Ban Chang Ku On Tit Heo is the other Da Nang specialty, pork belly rolled at the table in rice paper with a stack of herbs. Bep Ku On holds a Michelin listing and is the easiest place to eat that dish well. Madame Lan is the large, tourist-friendly option covering a broad menu of Central Vietnamese dishes. A day of eating in Da Nahung starts with Bun Chas Hay, the fish cake noodle soup locals take for breakfast. Have Ban Chang Ku On Tit Heo for lunch, rolled at the table, and give dinner to seafood on the beach road. Hoi An has the most protected food culture in the country, and one dish here is genuinely local in a strict sense. Gao Lao is thick, chewy noodles with pork, greens, and crisp croutons, and it is traditionally made with water from a specific local well. You will find versions elsewhere, but this is the only place it is native to. Suum Ga Hoi An is the other staple, turmeric yellow chicken rice served with shredded chicken and herbs. White rose dumplings and fried wontons are the two small plates every restaurant here serves. Banh Mi Phuong is the most famous sandwich counter in Vietnam, and the line reflects that. Madam Khan, known locally as the Banh Mi Queen, is the quieter alternative a few streets away. Morning Glory is the sit-down option for the full range of Hoi An dishes in one place. A day of eating in Hoi An starts with a banh mi from Phuong or Madam Khan, which is a genuine argument worth settling yourself. Take Gao Lao for lunch in the Old Town, since this is the one place on earth it properly belongs. Fill the afternoon with white rose dumplings and che, then give dinner to a long sit-down meal after the lanterns come on. Ho Chi Minh City is where the food turns sweeter, richer, and more Chinese-influenced. Kum Tom is the defining dish, broken rice with grilled pork chop, shredded pork skin, and a steamed egg patty. It is a working breakfast and lunch, sold from open-fronted shops all over the city. Banh mi reaches its best form here, since the baguette itself is a southern inheritance. Bún thịt nướng is the cold noodle bowl with grilled pork, and Bánh canh cua is the thick crab noodle soup. Cho Lan, the Chinatown across in District 5, is where the Chinese-Vietnamese dishes are at their strongest. The city's coffee culture is also the most developed on the route, from condensed milk seye phe sua da to modern roasters. A day of eating in Saigon starts with Kum Tam at an open-fronted street shop, which is how half the city has breakfast. Take banh mi mid-morning and bún thịt nướng for lunch, both of which are at their national best here. Give the evening to Cho Lan in District 5, working through the Chinese-Vietnamese kitchens, and finish on iced coffee. One practical note that applies at every stop. The best food on this route is almost always cheaper than the worst. Here is the finding that surprises people most about a Vietnam route. Your daily spend barely changes as you move down the country. A budget day runs about $30 anywhere on this list. A comfortable day runs about $100 north or south. That is unusual. On most multi-city routes, the capital costs meaningfully more than the small towns, and here it does not. The reason is that food and transport, the two things you buy every day, are priced almost identically nationwide. A street meal costs between about $1.15 and $1.50 at every stop on this route. A sit-down meal at a simple restaurant runs roughly $2, varying by perhaps 40 cents across 6 cities. Local coffee spans 75 cents to about $1.35, and Hanoi is the cheapest of the 6. Bottled water sits near 30 cents everywhere, and a month of mobile data runs $4 to $8. So if daily costs are flat, where does the variation actually live? Almost entirely in where you sleep. Hue is the cheapest place to stay on this route by a clear margin, with budget rooms near $20. Its luxury tier tops out around $100, which is lower than the mid-range ceiling in some coastal cities. Hoi An and Ninh Binh sit in the middle for budget rooms, both close to $30. Ho Chi Minh City is the most expensive for a budget room at about $36. At the top end, the order changes. Da Nang and Ho Chi Minh City both reach about $140 for luxury. Hanoi's luxury tier runs closer to $120, which is a genuine bargain for the historic properties involved. Hostel dorms are the flattest line of all, between roughly $5 and $6 in every single city. Ninh Binh has the cheapest bed on the route at just under $5, and Hanoi the priciest at just over $6. Putting that together, a backpacker doing all 6 stops should plan around $30 a day plus transport between cities. A mid-range traveler sleeping in decent hotels and eating well lands nearer $60 a day, again, plus intercity legs. Those intercity legs are the cost this route adds that a single city trip does not. Budget for 1 internal flight at the southern end and 2 or 3 train or bus legs further north. The single biggest saving available is simply eating where locals eat, which is also where the food is best. The single biggest overspend is booking airport transfers in advance through a hotel rather than using the app on arrival. One caveat on these numbers: the daily budget figures are national estimates rather than 6 separate measurements, so treat them as a baseline rather than a precise city ranking. This is the section that decides whether your trip works, and it is the one most Vietnam planning gets wrong. The mistake is treating Vietnam as one country with one season. It has 3 climates, and 2 of them are in direct opposition. Start in the north. Hanoi and Ninh Binh share a calendar with a genuine cool, dry season from roughly November to February. November is the standout month in Hanoi, with about 2.5 inches of rain across 7 wet days and highs near 26 Celsius, 79 Fahrenheit. January is drier still, but noticeably cold for the tropics, averaging 22 Celsius, 72 Fahrenheit, with lows near 14, 57 Fahrenheit. Bring an actual layer for the north in winter. Visitors arriving from the south are consistently caught off guard by this. The northern wet season runs July to September, peaking near 19 inches across 22 to 26 rain days. Ninh Binh tracks Hanoi almost exactly, though its wet season also raises the waterways the boat trips run on. Now the center, and this is where the calendar inverts completely. Hue, Da Nang, and Hoi An are driest from February to May, and April is the single best month at all three. April in Da Nang averages under an inch of rain across roughly 5 wet days, the driest month anywhere on this route. Hoi An in April is comparable, under an inch over about 4 wet days with highs around 31 Celsius, 88 Fahrenheit. Then the center floods. Hue averages 31 inches in October alone, across 28 rain days. November follows at 19 inches and December at 13. Hoi An is the same story, with 24 inches in October and 21 in November. This is when the Tu Bon River backs up and the ancient town can flood outright, sometimes to the point of boats in the streets. Hold those two facts side by side. November is the best month in Hanoi and among the worst in Hue and Hoi An. That is the single most expensive timing mistake available on this route, and it catches people who planned around the north. The south is the simplest of the three. Ho Chi Minh City is dry from December to April and wet from May to October. January averages under an inch across about 4 wet days, and March is barely wetter. September is the wettest at 17 inches over 30 rain days, meaning rain essentially every day. Southern rain usually arrives as short, heavy afternoon bursts rather than all-day drizzle, so it disrupts less than the numbers suggest. Heat in the south is constant rather than seasonal, sitting between 31 and 35 Celsius, 88 and 95 Fahrenheit, year-round. So what single month works for the whole route? April is the strongest answer. April gives the center its driest weather of the year, keeps the south inside its dry season, and finds the north warm and not yet flooded. March is the close second, drier in the north and still comfortable in the south, with the center only slightly wetter. If you can only travel between October and December, reverse the route and run south to north, or accept the center will be wet. On events, Tet is the one that reshapes everything. The Lunar New Year falls in late January or February and effectively closes the country for several days. Transport sells out, many family businesses shut, and prices rise. It is spectacular to witness and difficult to travel through. The Perfume Pagoda Festival outside Hanoi runs across the first months of the lunar year and is the largest pilgrimage in the north. Hue holds its own festival season in April and May, including the Ao Dai Festival and a traditional crafts festival. Da Nang runs an international fireworks festival across early summer, which fills hotels along the river for weeks. Hoi An's Lantern Festival is the outlier because it happens every single month on the full moon rather than once a year. That means you can plan around it in any month, and the town turns off its electric lights for the evening. Ninh Bing's festivals cluster in the first lunar months, with the Bai Ding Pagoda Festival and the Hua Lu Festival both falling in spring. Vietnam asks more preparation of a visitor than most Southeast Asian countries, and almost all of it is front-loaded. Entry permission is the first thing to sort, and it is the one item here that keeps changing. Most nationalities need permission arranged before arrival rather than on the day, and Vietnam has revised those terms repeatedly in recent years. Check the official government portal directly rather than a third-party site, and do it well before you book internal flights. The currency is the dong, and the math is the part that trips people up. $1 is worth roughly 26,000 dong, so ordinary prices carry a lot of zeros. A street meal at 40,000 dong is about $1.50. A hotel night at $1 million is about $38. The practical trick is to drop 3 zeros and divide by 26. 40,000 becomes 40, divided by 26, near 150. Carry cash. Card acceptance is improving in the cities, but street food, markets, and motorbike taxis are cash only. Tipping is not a traditional expectation in Vietnam, though it is increasingly common in tourist-facing restaurants. Bargaining is expected for motorbike taxis and cyclos. For metered taxis, insist on the meter instead. Vietnam uses 220 volts at 50 Hz, with a mix of flat and round pin sockets. Many outlets accept both types, but bring a universal adapter rather than relying on that. On connectivity, average download speeds run around 30 megabits per second, which is comfortable for everything but heavy uploads. A local SIM or eSIM costs between $4 and $8 for a month of data, which is cheaper than roaming almost anywhere. Vietnam does filter parts of the internet. Blogging platforms, some foreign news outlets, and political sites are variably blocked. A VPN handles this and is worth installing before you arrive rather than trying to download one from inside the country. On health, dengue risk is high and present year-round, and malaria risk is moderate and confined to rural areas. That makes mosquito precautions the single most useful health measure on this route, more than any vaccine. Recommended vaccinations include hepatitis A and B, typhoid, and Japanese encephalitis alongside your routine boosters. Speak to a travel clinic 6 to 8 weeks ahead, since some of those need multiple doses. If you bring prescription medication, carry it in hand luggage with a copy of the prescription. Anything over about $100 in value should be declared at customs, and some drug classes are restricted outright. Emergency numbers are 113 for police, 114 for fire, and 115 for an ambulance. On etiquette, remove your shoes when entering temples, pagodas, and private homes. Temple dress means covered shoulders and knees, and this is enforced at the larger sites rather than merely suggested. Avoid standing chopsticks upright in a bowl of rice. It resembles incense at a funeral offering and reads badly. Do not pass food directly from chopstick to chopstick either, for the same reason. Carry a copy of your passport day to day rather than the original, which stays in the hotel safe. On packing, clothing is the category that needs the most thought because this route crosses 3 climates. Pack lightweight breathable layers as the base, plus 1 properly warm layer if you travel north between November and February. Add modest clothing that covers shoulders and knees for temple days, a light rain shell, and quick dry fabrics for the humidity. Footwear matters more here than in most places, and 2 pairs cover it. Bring sandals for daily heat and the wet season, plus closed shoes with real grip for the cave steps at the Marble Mountains and the Hong Mua climb. The gear category is short, and on this route, each item answers to something specific. Bring a dry bag for the Chang'an boat circuit and the central wet season, a refillable bottle with a filter, and a universal adapter for the mixed sockets. For health, strong mosquito repellent is the priority given year-round dengue, alongside rehydration salts for the southern heat. Now the mistakes, because several of these catch first-timers on this route specifically. The biggest mistake is timing the whole trip around northern weather. Book November for Hanoi, and you land in the center during its flood season. The second is attempting all 6 stops in a week. Many visitors underestimate the distances and spend the trip in transit. The third is Ba Na Hills, which is the most overrated stop on this route if you arrive expecting heritage rather than a hill theme park. Most people get the airport taxi wrong too. Skip anyone who approaches you inside the terminal and use the official counter or the app. The last trap is assuming a transit pass exists somewhere on this route. It does not, so do not waste time hunting for one. 6 stops is the full version of this route, and the honest question is which ones you drop when time is short. Hoi An is the one almost nobody regrets and almost everybody wishes they had given longer. Hanoi is the essential counterweight because it is the only stop that shows you Vietnam as a working capital rather than a destination. Those 2 are the core. If you have a week, do only those 2 and the country between them. Ho Chi Minh City is the stop people are most divided on. It is loud, hot, and fast, and it rewards a specific temperament. Come here for the war history and the food, not for charm. It is not a city that tries to be pretty. Hue is the strongest single-day stop on the route, and it is also the cheapest place to sleep. If your interest is history rather than scenery, Hue outranks Da Nang comfortably. Da Nang is the most skippable of the 6 for a short trip, precisely because Hoi An is 15 miles away. Use it as your airport and your beach day, and give the time to Hoi An instead. Ninh Binh is the opposite case. It is the only landscape stop, and nothing else on the route resembles it. cut Ninh Binh only if you have already seen karst country elsewhere in Asia. For 10 days, the sequence that works is Hanoi, Ninh Binh, Hue, Hoi An, and a flight out of Da Nang. For 2 weeks, add Ho Chi Minh City at the end and let Hoi An stretch to 4 nights. Travel in April if you possibly can, and reverse the whole route south to north if you are locked into the fall. Vietnam rewards the traveler who moves slowly through fewer places far more than the one who collects all 6. That's our complete Vietnam guide, north to south. Everything mentioned is linked in the description below. We have our city-focused guides for Vietnam coming soon. And if you haven't yet, subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Thanks so much for watching.